At this time, it's my privilege to present to you John I. Leonard High School's 2026 valedictorian, Carlos Canales. Carlos graduates with a GPA of 3.96, an HPA of 5.33, an ACE diploma with distinction, 96 college credits, his associate's in arts degree from Palm Beach State College, and for good measure, over 500 community service hours. A recipient of the prestigious Questbridge Match Scholarship, Carlos is John I. Leonard's Pathfinder nominee in academic excellence, president of the National Speech and Debate Team, and vice president of the Young Men of Distinction Club. Carlos is also the captain of the swim team and a member of the boys volleyball team, and was one half of the Florida Forensic League State Championship in duo interpretation of literature. The son of Danelia Barralaga and Jorge Nájera, Carlos plans to attend Case Western University to become an aerospace engineer. Please welcome the class of 2026 valedictorian, Carlos Canales.
Good evening, everyone. If you were to tell me 10 years ago that I were standing here today, I would have laughed. If you asked me 3 years ago, I might have believed you. Before I get into why, I want you all to take a moment to reflect on the accomplishments you fulfilled, the memories you hold dearly, the friendships and relationships you made along the way, and most importantly, a round of applause for the class of 2026. Now, 3 years ago, I watched Mark Rober's commencement speech to the MIT class of 2023, which changed the way I thought about my future. And for some reason, I decided to write a letter to myself with a few questions I hope to be able to answer one day. And somehow, today is that day. The first question I wrote was, did I embrace naive optimism? Now, what does that even mean? Mark Rober put it best. Naive optimism means it's easier to be optimistic about your future when you're sort of naive about what lies ahead. So, I was definitely naive about how difficult AP Biology and AP Physics were until I had to suffer through Ms. Crumpler's endless assignments and Mr. Peterson's dreadful tests. But if I had truly understood how difficult it would have been, I would have never done it and missed out on everything they taught me. Ms. Crumpler taught me how to be a better student by never leaving assignments for last minute. Mr. Peterson taught me to always be curious, ask the right questions, and never be afraid to try. You see, our minds are our biggest limiters. Not because we can't do something, but because we convince ourselves not to even try. I can't tell you how many things I've put off simply because I was afraid to start. And it's not just schoolwork, but decisions, conversations, and opportunities. I'm in speech and debate, so I've given countless speeches. But there was a moment where I almost didn't write this speech. I remember sitting down and doubting whether I was even the right person to be up here. I kept thinking I wouldn't have anything worth saying, or that I'd mess it up. And for a second, I almost let that stop me. But I realized that if I waited until I was fully ready, I probably would have never started. So I did it anyway. And that's where naive optimism comes in. It's taking the first step anyway, even when you don't know how it's going to turn out. Because the truth is, things usually aren't as bad as we imagine them to be. And it's okay if you don't have things figured out. I'm going to tell you a little secret. No one does. You don't need to have everything planned out. Most people don't. What matters is you keep moving and that you don't do it alone. The second question I asked myself was, did I reframe my opportunities as failures? Did I reframe my failures as opportunities? A lot of the time, we treat failure like the end-all be-all. But in reality, it's just a part of the process. Mark Rober explained this using video games. As a teenager raised in the 2000s, I can tell you it made perfect sense. I know most people here don't exactly know about games like GTA or Fortnite, so I'll keep it to the classic example of Super Mario Bros. When you're playing Mario, you don't sit there thinking about everything that could go wrong before you jump. You just jump. And if you miss, you try again. I remember playing for hours at my cousin's house, constantly losing, constantly starting over. My cousins were better than I was, but that didn't stop me. If anything, it made me want to get better. I watched what they did, asked way too many questions, and kept trying until I figured it out. I might have failed hundreds of times, but eventually, I defeated Bowser. And that's the point. Failure isn't an invitation to stop. It's an opportunity to improve. So as we all go our separate ways after today, remember this. The more we're willing to fail, the closer we get to becoming who we want to be. The last question I wrote down was, are you happy? I can proudly say that I am, and that's because of the people in my life. Let me tell you a story about a young woman who came to the United States with her 2 kids from Honduras. She was a single mother. Not long after, she became pregnant with her 3rd child, and the father was deported. She had to find a place to live, a new way to support her family, all on her own. She worked day and night, sometimes going without food just so her kids could eat. She used the few things she had, 3 pillows and 2 blankets, to make a little bed for her children while she slept on the hard, freezing concrete floor. She cleaned houses, shopping centers, anywhere she could, even while pregnant, just to give her kids a chance at a life that she never had. She could have gone back. She could have chosen the easy path, but she didn't. She fought to be the best mother she could be, and through it all, she never stopped smiling. If you hadn't noticed yet, that woman is my mom. I remember coming home sometimes and seeing her still working, even when she had nothing left in her. There were nights she wouldn't sit down until everything was done. Even when I didn't understand why, she never stopped. Back then, I thought she was just strong. Now I understand that she had no other choice but to be. Te quiero dar las gracias, mami. Hasta hoy en día, usted hace todo lo que puede por nosotros. Creo que muchas veces actúo como si lo supiera todo, pero usted siempre está allí para recordarme con amor que no es así. Yo recuerdo cuando era el 13 de febrero y no tenía dinero para darle algo a la chica que me gustaba. Usted dijo, ¿y a mí? ¿Qué me vas a dar? Aún así, me dio $30 para comprarle algo. Este es el último año que estaré en casa, pero nunca será el último año que usted sea mi mamá. Usted me enseñó el valor de trabajar duro, del amor y de la sonrisa. Usted me ha dicho antes que no quiere que sea como usted, pero quiero ser exactamente como tú. Una persona en Cristo, trabajadora y llena de amor. Gracias, mami. Te amo. And later on, someone else came into our lives. A man who didn't have to stay, but chose to. He stepped into the role of a father for 3 kids who weren't even his. Not because he had to, but because of who he is. That man is the man whom I consider my father. Papi, te quiero dar las gracias por tomar el rol de ser papá en mi vida. Yo sé que no lo tuvo que hacer, que pudo luchar con una vida más fácil sin tantos niños, pero quiero que siempre sepa que siempre recordaré todas las cosas que usted, como un papá, me enseñó como un hijo. Recuerdo construyendo una caja para los conejos y tenía puesto su cinturón de herramientas. Estuvimos cortando la madera y le pregunté, ¿y la puerta? ¿Dónde va a ir? Usted dijo, wow, qué niño más inteligente. La realidad es que mi hermano José me dijo que le preguntara. Yo ni sabía que iba a ir puerta. Pero aún así, ese día quería ser exactamente como tú. And while I don't have enough time to thank everyone, I do want to say this. I'm standing here today not because I had everything figured out, but because I had people who showed me how to keep going when I didn't. So if you don't know what comes next, good. I don't either. But if there's one thing I hope we take with us, it's this. We don't need to have everything figured out. We just need to have the courage to take the first step, the resilience to keep going when we fail, and the people around us who remind us why we started. Because if we can do that, I think we'll be just fine. Congratulations, class of 2026.
I played Mario Brothers. Back when I played, I could save the princess. Is that still a thing? Not even a thing?